Hey, welcome to this explainer. We are going to break down the actual architecture of peak performance. We're talking about making this massive, profound shift, moving away from a mindset that's rooted in fear and self-protection and stepping right into a space of purely purposeful performance. If you've ever felt like your own mind is the literal roadblock between you and your highest potential, you are definitely going to want to stick around for this one. Okay, let's jump right in by picturing a scenario. Just imagine two athletes standing side by side at the starting line of the exact same race. They both trained for years. They've got the exact same physical ability, the same diet, the same coaching. They both want to win incredibly badly. From the outside, completely identical. But inside their heads, there are two entirely different realities playing out. So my question to you is, which of these athletes is actually going to perform more freely when that starting gun goes off? It's wild, right? The stark contrast here all comes down to where they're placing their attention. Athlete 1 is just totally trapped in this loop. What if I lose? What's everyone going to think? Am I actually even good enough to be here? Meanwhile, Athlete 2 is asking one highly focused question. How can I give my absolute best in this exact moment? The difference isn't in their muscles. It's purely in their attention. One mind is desperately trying to protect the ego from embarrassment, while the other is just completely focused on expressing its maximum potential. Now listen, if you're relating a little more to Athlete 1 right now, take a deep breath. Honestly, it is not your fault. Your brain is fundamentally wired for survival, not for happiness, and definitely not for peak athletic or professional performance. Its number one evolutionary job is just keeping you alive. So when you catch yourself agonizing over what people think, or if you're going to fail, that's really just your ancestral brain doing exactly what it was built to do, trying to protect you from the unknown. The neuroscience behind this is absolutely fascinating. It comes down to a continuous subconscious process called cognitive appraisal. Basically, your brain is a 24/7 prediction machine. It's constantly scanning the room, asking, is this safe? Is this dangerous? Can I handle what's coming? Thousands of years ago, a threat meant a tiger in the bushes. Today, that exact same survival mechanism misfires. It looks at a tough project, a big game, or maybe the fear of disappointing your boss, and it treats it like a life or death threat, triggering that really loud, anxious inner monologue. And this is where things get really cool, because it brilliantly illustrates where ancient wisdom actually shakes hands with modern science. The spiritual teacher Ramana Maharshi taught that when our obsession with the separate eyes softens, basically when we stop making everything about ourselves, fear loses its grip. And while neuroscience doesn't exactly use spiritual terms, modern psychology directly backs this up. Studies clearly show that excessive self-focused thinking is directly linked to worry, rumination, and anxiety. Basically, the more we obsess over protecting me, the louder the fear gets. So how do we actually fix this? Well, science gives us a massive clue through something called self-determination theory. Research consistently proves that we are drastically more resilient and persistent when we act from intrinsic motivation. That just means we're doing the work because it's inherently meaningful to us, not because we're chasing a gold star or trying to dodge criticism. When your attention is locked onto your purpose and what you're doing right now in the present moment, you become practically immune to the crushing pressure of external validation. Now you're probably thinking, great, okay, I'll just stop having anxious thoughts. Yeah, actually scratch that. That's a total trap. Mindfulness does not just magically stop your thoughts. You can't just hit a mute button on a brain that took millions of years to evolve to worry. Instead, mindfulness changes your relationship with those thoughts. Rather than instantly buying into every terrifying worst-case scenario your brain throws at you, you learn to just observe it. You create this tiny little wedge of space between the thought and your reaction. And in that space, that's where you can make better decisions. Let me ask you this. Think about sports for a second. Have you ever seen a player perform incredibly well right after they get furious? You know the drill. Someone gets fouled, they get angry, their heart rate spikes, they completely stop overthinking, and they just dominate the field for a few minutes. We've all seen it. It makes anger look like the ultimate fuel. The tension drops, the hesitation vanishes, and they just go. I've got to say, it is a very, very seductive illusion for an anxious, reactive brain. But here is the crucial point. While anger definitely gives you a temporary burst of energy, it's an emotional trap. Think about it. If you rely on getting mad to perform at your best, it means your performance is completely dependent on someone else provoking you. You are literally handing your opponent the remote control to your emotions. Elite performers, they don't do this. They don't train to get angry. They train for something much harder. High energy combined with a completely calm, intensely present mind. No emotional chaos allowed. To actually build that calm intensity, the source material offers a super practical exercise. It starts really simply. You just close your eyes. You
You take 5 slow, deep breaths to reset that frantic survival brain. Then you ask yourself, why did you even start doing this in the first place? Strip away the money, the recognition, the pressure. Recall that pure, original intention. And finally, you actively choose your purpose for today, whether that's to learn, to grow, or to serve.
And this mindset directly shapes our daily habits. If you really want to maintain peak performance, you've got to guard your mornings. You absolutely cannot start your day with unhelpful intentions like, I have to prove I'm worthy, or everyone has to approve of me, or failure means I'm not enough. Notice how all of these are entirely externally driven? They're just desperate attempts to protect the ego. And honestly, they're only going to manufacture immense, suffocating pressure instead of giving you the freedom you actually need to perform.
Contrast those traps with these 3 incredibly healthy intentions. Instead of constantly trying to prove yourself, try asking, how can I serve? How can I grow? How can I become just a little bit better than I was yesterday? Do you feel the difference there? It's like a weight lifts. These questions instantly bypass that survival brain panic. They pull your attention entirely away from self-protection and point it straight toward meaningful, constructive action.
Which brings us to this daily mantra that really anchors everything we've been talking about. Just let these words kind of wash over you for a second. My purpose is greater than my fear. My attention is more valuable than my anxiety. I choose contribution over validation. Imagine silently repeating that to yourself right before a high-stakes presentation, a massive competition, or even just a difficult conversation. It completely recenters your mind away from the ego and grounds you back in your true power. And here is why this practice is so structurally important. This right here, this is the actual architecture of peak performance. It's a cascade. When you start with purpose, that creates clarity. That clarity naturally narrows down into a really tight focus. And that focus is what allows you to take consistent action, regardless of how you happen to feel that day. And guess what? It's that consistent action that ultimately builds real, unshakable confidence. You don't just sit around waiting to feel confident, you manufacture it from the ground up through this exact sequence. As we bring this all together, keep this really profound reflection at the forefront of your mind. I cannot control every circumstance, but I can always choose where I place my attention. You can't control the weather, the competition, the economy, or the critics, but your attention, that is your ultimate domain. When you finally realize that confidence isn't just some magical feeling that descends from the sky, but a deliberate state you build by choosing your focus, honestly, you become unstoppable. Which leaves us with the most important question of all. Knowing everything we've uncovered in this explainer, knowing exactly how the brain tries to trick you, and knowing the incredible power of intrinsic purpose, where will you choose to place your attention today? Is it going to be on protecting your ego, or is it going to be on expressing your true potential? The choice and the performance that follows is entirely yours. Keep building that architecture, and hey, thanks so much for exploring this with me today.